Welcome back. You're watching Bazaar Morning Call. It's a Thursday morning. The global cues are upbeat. The US markets rallied over 1%. Asia is taking the cue from that, and you are seeing big moves. The Nikkei today has crossed that 42,000 mark for the first time ever. Hang Seng is up 1.5% nearly, and the GIFT Nifty too is suggesting that after yesterday's little bit of weakness where the benchmark indices lost 100 points, we could recover and open up in the green. But it's time now to talk about individual stocks. This is CNBC-TV18's list of top stocks for the day, and Ekta joins in first up on Glenmark Life and Glenmark Pharma. Hi Ekta, good morning.
Morning. Well, I expect Glenmark to be in the green because they are going to be selling stake in Glenmark Life. So Glenmark Pharma is going to be selling around 7.85% equity via an offer for sale in Glenmark Life, and with this they will be exiting the residual stake that they have in Glenmark Life, which was their API business that they sold to Nirma Pharma in September of 2023 at an enterprise value of around 7,500 odd crores, or at a price of 615 rupees. Now, this OFS is going to be at a floor price of 810 rupees, which is a 7% discount to the CMP. And the total worth at this 810 floor price is around 779 crores. With this, Glenmark will entirely exit Glenmark Life, and that'll be the end of that particular story. But nonetheless, it'll be positive for Glenmark for sure, because they're going to get an influx of funds. It'll probably be used for R&D as well as capex, as maybe any kind of residual debt reduction.
Okay, thank you very much for that. Tata Elxsi kickstarted the tech earnings with the numbers yesterday post-market hours. The top-line growth was ahead of what the street was anticipating. The company's reported a revenue growth of 2.4% quarter-on-quarter, 8.4% on a year-on-year basis, and this is ahead of what the street was anticipating. Also in the call yesterday, they've guided that FY25 growth will be better than FY24, and FY24 was nearly a 9.5% growth, which basically means 10% perhaps for this year. EBIT margins appeared to be lower on a quarter-on-quarter basis, down by 150 basis points, but that's due to a one-off. If you strip that out, the adjusted EBIT margins are up 60 basis points. The only concern when it comes for Tata Elxsi is the valuation, because it trades at 48 times forward multiple. JP Morgan reiterates its underweight call. Their target price is at 5,700. Morgan Stanley too is underweight on the stock. They're saying high ask rates for the company to achieve FY25 growth to be better than FY24. Premium valuation, limited upside triggers keeps them underweight. So the street is concerned about valuations, but I'm going to go with green for Tata Elxsi. Because we've seen that big Nasdaq rally, 1.5%. There's generally a rub-off flow-through impact on Indian IT, and plus revenues were a beat and adjusted margins too ticked up, and the decline in margins was a bit of a concern. So the fact that adjusted margins are up could be read as a positive.
Okay, Rima, so that's the big one of the day, Tata Elxsi. I'm looking at another company that came out with its set of numbers, which is JTL Industries. Now, the numbers on the top line, there was a growth of close to around 2%, but the encouraging part was the EBITDA did jump up by close to around 12%. On the top line, the growth is led by volumes because we know pricing was under pressure. But you look at it, well, on the margin front, there was some expansion on a year-on-year basis, which will be read possibly because the last quarter was a bit of a subdued one for the entire industry. Even on the EBITDA per ton, they're still clocking 4,600 rupees per ton. And the hope is that in the second half of the year, there's a recovery from here on. So the numbers are more or less in line with what Antique is working with, and it has valuation comfort as well. However, the two triggers that I'll be looking forward to in the time to come is, they've been talking about a QIP. Can they get enough demand for that? Because that's something that's been a lingering worry. Well, there was a bit of a controversy with regard to one of their allotments. So can institutions come into the company? Point number one. Point number two is the promoters have taken warrants at 270 rupees. But at that point of time, things were looking up. So will they go ahead and convert the warrants? That's going to be important as well. So we'll keep an eye out on that stock. Well, Mangalam joins us to tell us about Sula Vineyards that came out with their update. Hey, Mangalam, morning.
Good morning. So, we're used to seeing big numbers in terms of growth coming in from the alcobev industry, particularly from Sula Vineyards as well. That wasn't the case to be in the first quarter. So the net revenue grew by just under 10%. In fact, their own brands grew at a sluggish 2.7%, and hospitality declined by 2.5%. But this is not to do with Sula's own, growth. It is actually the first quarter which was impacted by several dry days because of the election, and also the scorching heat wave that reduced tourism, and that's something that we saw across the board in a lot of these, tourism-related consumer companies as well. But going forward, there are a couple of triggers. They will begin bottling at one of their units in Maharashtra this month, and more importantly, they've made a big strategic announcement where they will transition both the economy and popular brands to a third-party sales force in Maharashtra. They tried that in Karnataka and Telangana last year. That's done well for them. So the company's own sales force will focus exclusively on priority, elite and premium brands. That's something that, United Spirits did as well a couple of years ago. So this transition should help them. For starters, we expect the stock to open in the red largely because of the weak update that has come by, but will be very interesting to see if that will be bought into or not.
All right, Mangalam, thanks very much for that. So that's Sula in focus. More stocks with news flow. Vivek is here with that list. Vivek, morning.
Well, good morning. Quite a few stocks on the radar. First on the list is IRB Infra and the listed InvIT as well. So what IRB has done is it's given the operational update for both the month of June in terms of toll collection and also for Q1 FY25. So now when you're talking about June 2024 toll collections, it's come in at 517 crore. That's almost a 35% rise compared to last year. What we need to keep in mind is that after June 2023, there have been 3 new tolling projects that have been added to their portfolio. Q1 FY25 revenues, again, higher by almost 31.5%, and the company says that they anticipate the positive trend that started in Q1 to continue for the rest of the year as well. The second stock on the radar is GE Power India. Now, what's actually happened over here is that the company has gone ahead and done a slump sale of 2 of its businesses that contributed close to 36% of the total income for the year, for FY24. So the first business that they are selling to a related party is the hydro business undertaking. It contributed a little over 31% of its total income in FY24, and this particular business is being sold at a total valuation of ₹1. Also, they are selling the gas power business to GE Renewable Energy, and this is for 43.8 crore. Remember, this particular business contributed around 5% of the total income in FY24. Expect this particular stock to react negatively to this development. Lastly, keep an eye out for PTC Industries. On Saturday, the company is holding a board meeting to consider a fundraise, and this particular fundraise could be via private placement, pref issue, or the QIP route, whichever the board decides to go for.
Thank you, Vivek, for that. Over to Ekta now for some more pharmaceutical stocks which are in the news. Ekta.
Thanks for that. Well, Shalby is going to be in focus because they've got a 30-year lease for Asha Parekh Hospital in Santa Cruz, Mumbai. They're going to be constructing a new healthcare facility of 175 beds. Zydus has got the approval for a heart failure drug in the US, Entresto generic, and it's a large market size for them. So that stock would be in focus on account of that, possibly in the green on account of this news.
Okay, all right. Thanks a lot for that, Ekta. Well, here's a quick recap of all the top stocks you're tracking. Let's go to the ones with positive news here first. Glenmark Pharma, you have Tata Elxsi, JTL Industries, IRB Infra, PTC Industries, Shalbeam, as well as Zydus Life. While on the flip side, you have 3 stocks that will be reacting to negative news flow: Glenmark Life, Sula, and GE Power. So that's about the equity markets. But let's hop across to Manisha, who's joining us to tell us what's going on in the commodity markets. Hey, Manisha, good morning.
Morning. Thank you for that, Nigel. I'll start with the crude oil prices, which have seen some gains come back. And this is because the U.S. inventories have declined by 3.4 million barrels in the previous week. This is the 3rd straight week that we have seen a decline in crude, in gasoline and distillate stocks. So that tells you that the physical demand on ground in U.S. seems to be doing well. The other thing is the report from OPEC and EIA suggesting that the global demand for crude is gaining not just this year, but is expected to gain in the next year as well. EIA has put a number of 104.7 million barrels per day, which is slightly lower than OPEC. But the point being that everybody does anticipate that next year as well, we could be looking at higher demand growth, and that clearly seems to be supporting prices. Obviously, the strength in US dollar index is what is keeping prices in check, not just for crude, but for metals also. So you have gold and silver prices trading kind of flat, but there is a definite decline that we've seen in copper for a 3rd straight day. The China consumer prices rose less than expected, and the China producer deflation is extended for a 21st month. Also, nickel is trading at 14-week lows, HRS steel prices at 18-month lows, so there is a pressure that's come back for metals.
Okay, all right, Manisha, thank you very much for that. We'll take a quick break here. Deepan Mehta of Elixir Equities will be joining in with some specific stock talk. We'll also have Ravi Chawla, Managing Director and CEO at Gulf Oil Lubricants, to discuss their business outlook and triggers from here. Stocks up 70% this year so far. Stay with us.